minutes left, you will see a placard raised, and another when there are only 2 minutes left. The program is structured into 4 sessions, in which 2 speakers will be placed in one session. The question and answer session for both speakers will be held at the end of the session, so please keep your questions ready. We are introducing a new concept in this conference. We have our own doodle artists who will be creating visual works of the words said. They will pin up the work before the end of the session in the pin board at the back. I now invite the president of CEPT University, Mr. Barjor Mehta, to open the event with welcome remarks.
Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to see you here. I'm delighted that this is the third round of the Civil Engineering Conference with a major thrust on great infrastructure projects. And from the registrations that we received, one of the things that we would like the students of CEPT University and other students from other universities to get the message that civil engineering is cool. It's not the boring thing that it is made out to be. It is the backbone on which our economy and the growth of our economy rests. So thank you for being part of the Civil Engineering Conference with a focus on infrastructure. The second big message that we would like conveyed through this conference is that in our country, big things are possible. And all these big things are possible because of simple people like us. We are just normal people from the country. We have come up from the systems of our country, and we are able to deliver big projects. We are able to deliver projects which are grand in scale. And unless we think in big terms, unless we think in grand terms, we will never be able to reach the $10 trillion economy that we plan to be, and we want to be, and we will be. So therefore, big things are possible, and it's done by people like all of us. And so take that as a second message. And the third message that I would like, as you listen to these presentations, these 8 excellent presentations by 8 excellent leaders and professionals, also give a thought that these presenters, these leaders sit on top of a pyramid which is based on hundreds and hundreds, sometimes multitudes of teams who come across, and they come together to deliver one project with one mission and with one goal. So it's the teamwork, it's the leadership, big things are possible, and civil engineering is cool. With that, let's start.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful words. I now invite the Vice Chairperson of CRDF, Mr. Surain Vakil, to deliver the introductory note and set the stage.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It's wonderful to see you all here today. And every year, this conference gives us a time to step back and look at the bigger picture, how India is growing, how our cities and regions are changing, and what it really takes to deliver infrastructure that supports this growth. Today's theme, major infrastructure projects, naturally brings a lot of thoughts to mind. If we think back to the early days after independence, such projects were few and far between. They were very rare. Pandit Nehru referred to these projects as the temples of modern India, where he was opening the Bhakra Nangal Dam in 1963. But today, the scale, the size, the ambition, the number of projects, these projects, has grown dramatically, particularly since the last 30 years. And these projects are funded either through government budgets, and more recently, they're funded through public-private partnerships. These are complex investments, that affect the future of entire regions. And as many of you who work in this space know, that these projects in India routinely face challenges which are much greater than such projects face internationally. And you have issues like you have political issues, you have social concerns, a lack of, you might need to bring in global expertise for certain projects. There is a shortage often of contractors who can work to world-class standards also. This has been changing recently. And there is a constant need for enabling policies. And these are all part of the landscape in which we build. And yet, despite all of this, these projects succeed. They move us forward, and they leave behind valuable lessons for us to learn, which is what we are going to talk about today. However, it is also obvious that the world-class quality that we see in these large projects is in contrast to the mediocre quality that we see in the smaller infrastructure projects. Projects such as city roads, bridges, drainage, and so forth. The kind of quality that we see in the design, the construction, the safety standards in the major projects does not filter through to these smaller projects. So which brings us to an important question. How do we make sure that the high standards that we see in these major projects find their way to the thousands of smaller projects in our states and cities? If we are aiming for Viksit Bharat by the year 2047, then the everyday projects, the roads, bridges, water systems, schools, railway stations, all need to be built to a much higher standard. Major projects cannot and should not remain isolated examples of excellence. These lessons need to travel. So how do we make that happen? And a few ideas come to mind. First, education. We do need better technical education, except we believe in studio-based learning. Teaching students by give them real problems to solve. This kind of learning creates professionals who are ready for real-world challenges and not just for examinations. Second, we need better procurement and universal standards. We need systems that choose contractors and consultants because they offer the best value and not because they are the cheapest. Third, we need capacity building in both the government and the private sector so that the people handling these projects have the training, support, and processes that they need to succeed. And one way to do this would be to have a system of professional qualifications, which we currently lack in our country. Fourth, we need a cultural shift, one where the public good consistently comes before vested interests and where scrutiny and transparency are the norm. We also need a culture of maintaining our assets for public safety and durability. Maintenance is a big issue in our country. And we also substantially need to improve the safety in all our projects. Fifth, we need mechanisms that allow knowledge to flow. Imagine if all the technical documentation from major projects was freely available to students, planners, engineers, and local governments could learn enormously from it. And finally, we should not forget inspiration. A simple idea like setting up visitor centers at major projects, including guided tours, especially for school children, could make a huge difference in inspiring the next generation. Major projects can lead the way and set the standard for the rest of our infrastructure. And today we are fortunate to have with us a galaxy of stars, people who have worked on some of the most challenging and transformative projects in India. And they won't just talk about their successes, they'll also talk about the difficulties, the obstacles and failures. None of our speakers today have had comfortable 9-to-5 careers. They've taken risks, they worked under pressure, and made sacrifices. And I have personally had the privilege of working alongside some of them. Speakers here have traveled here from Kashmir, Bangalore, Mumbai, and I wish to thank them all for being here and being so generous in sharing their expertise with us. So we'll start with the two pioneering projects, Mundra Port and Kempegowda Airport, which were the first PPP port and the first PPP airport. We'll move on to Mumbai's transformative mobility and aviation projects, the Mumbai Metro and Navi Mumbai Airport. After lunch, we'll turn to the tough engineering projects, the Kishanganga Hydro Project, Zojila Tunnel. And finally, we will look ahead with the bullet train and the Central Vista projects. It promises to be an inspiring journey through India's infrastructure story. So before we begin, I want to thank our main donors, Turner, Mr. Jairam Punch, PSP Projects, Mr. P.S. Patel. Also thank you to Sanjay Construction, Ranjit Construction, Mr. Sanjay Patel and Gaurav Patel for their generosity. Your support has helped us to keep this conference free and open for everyone. And a big thank you to our partners, Gujarat Technical University. It's good to see Professor Rajul Gajjar here. GICEA, Mr. Deepak Patel is here. And also Gujarat Contractors Association for the help in partnering and encouraging participation. Thank you once again for joining us. I hope you enjoy the sessions and take away something meaningful. So let's begin. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now begin our first session featuring two landmark projects that has redefined the scale and ambition of modern Indian infrastructure. Our first speaker is Mr. Satyaki Raghunath, former COO of Bangalore International Airport. He will walk us through the making of Kempegowda International Airport, a benchmark in aviation infrastructure, sustainability, and passenger experience. Sir, may I invite you to the stage?
So, morning everyone. I think it's quite intimidating to be in front of this audience after so many years. And before I start, I just wanted to say it's a homecoming of sorts for me. I first came to Gujarat in 1993 to write an entrance exam here at CEPT. And, it just shows you how old I am. And, I remember being one of those nervous students writing the entrance exam here. And then I spent the 5 best years of my life here in Gujarat. I was in Vallabh doing architecture. And I have very fond memories of being on this campus, coming here for crits. I remember I was telling Bimal that he used to come for some of the crits at that point. I remember your dad, when I came here and listened to him, Mr. Doshi. And I think being back at CEPT is a wonderful experience because as students, all of us sort of looked up to CEPT, looked up to Gujarat, looked up to Ahmedabad as sort of the most forward-thinking place as far as education and higher learning was concerned in India. And I think it's continued to sort of remain the beacon as far as India is concerned in terms of institutional activity, in terms of creative thinking, in terms of what it has done to shape modern India. So certainly feels wonderful to be back here. I think, Suren Bhai, thank you for inviting me and for doing the case study on Bangalore Airport. Suren Bhai and I used to work together many years ago. Charu and I used to work together for a long time, many years ago. And I spotted my undergraduate thesis guide, Dr. Srivatsan also, who is here, who I've met after 25 years. So, it's just wonderful to be back amongst all these stalwarts. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the story of Kempegowda International Airport. I won't take too much of your time, and I just want to sort of leave you with a few snippets as to what happened over the years and what we thought about and how the story came to be. And then I'm happy to take questions after that, after Malai Bhai also finishes and whenever the session is. So, this is, as you all know, Kempegowda International Airport. And we sort of think about it as a new gateway to India. And I say this because, traditionally, Delhi and Bombay have been the gateways to India, internationally, in terms of how you think about access into this country, in terms of airlines coming in, etc. And at least when I was growing up, I don't know how many of you remember, and I don't know how many of you remember the old HAL airport in Bangalore. I mean, it was not even an airport. I mean, it was just a small little airstrip, almost. They extended the runway. HAL, which is India's pioneering aerospace company, one of India's pioneering aerospace companies, had a runway, they happened to have an airport which they operated at certain times. So clearly, as the city started booming in the 90s and the tech revolution started, it was pretty apparent that the city needed a new airport, it needed new infrastructure. And the story of Kempegowda International Airport was born through the efforts of a number of people, number of eminent Bangaloreans, number of civil servants, number of politicians, number of other people from other parts of India who sort of recognized the need for the fact that India needed world-class modern infrastructure. And I think it's wonderful to be here today because it's a very important theme. When we talk about Viksit Bharat, when we talk about the Prime Minister's vision, when we talk about Make in India, when we talk about what India is going to be when we celebrate 100 years of independence, I think the key driver is going to be world-class infrastructure, because world-class infrastructure does multiple things, right? It improves our cities, it stands out as a beacon and as a hope in terms of a sense of civic pride, it gives citizens something to aspire towards, and at the end of the day, it also significantly improves the economy, because what it does is it adds significant heft to economic growth and GDP. And by providing that world-class infrastructure, whether it's passenger terminals or ports or cargo terminals and things like that, you're changing the way India behaves, you're changing the way India performs, and it completely changes the story in terms of what we can be. Because for many years,